Flash on Sunday night. The R in Elseworlds spelled backwards. Nothing makes sense anymore. Anyway, even though I do normally take off December to prep for the next season of the show, I should get on that pretty soon. Anyway, I decided why not do some vlogs on the next crossover in the CW superhero series. So tonight is The Flash. So if you watched some of the other shows recently, they ended with a stinger on Earth 90, I think it was. I thought there were supposed to only be 52, 53 Earths, but okay, Earth 90. There's that moment where the Wesley ship Flash encounters the Monitor, who picks up a big magic book, and then he makes a tactical retreat with all his buddies like Firestorm, Stargirl, Green Arrow, probably the Hawks, all dead. Then it gets to a professor at a university teaching a night class about how they can become just like Superman and be supermen and superwomen, but everyone just laughs him off and leaves. And he's all despondent, and then he gets approached by the Monitor, whose power I think comes from his glorious mutton chops. He hands the professor the book and tells him to think big. At which point, we see Oliver Queen wake up in Barry Allen's life. Very weirded out because he still thinks of himself as Oliver Queen. And he has some shenanigans as the Flash, haphazardly and kind of stumbling his way through stopping a robbery at Ivo Labs, something. And he takes out the villains after pretty quickly mastering the speed power. Well, not mastering, but getting a good handle on them a lot quicker than you'd think. And he throws some lightning, takes out the robbers, and it bounces around inside a box. And you know that weird robot-looking thing that's on the big promo? It's on my title card here. I was wondering what character that could be, and when I saw that robot in the box, Amazo. So everyone at Star Labs thinks Barry is acting weird, so he decides to go talk to Oliver Queen, who is Barry Allen. I did notice a weird thing. Barry as Green Arrow had a quicker learning curve to go through than Ollie as the Flash. Funny, since he doesn't have the super speed. Anyway, Barry does fumble a little. He fires the wrong arrow here or there when he's taking on some thugs, but mostly he does fine. And Ollie Flash catches up with him, and Barry seems to enjoy the situation to a degree, making a Quantum Leap reference, but Ollie's not having as much fun. And it was a fun little dynamic between the two, until he finds out that Ollie woke up in the same bed as Iris, in which case, we have to fix this! Again, kind of funny. So they go to Star Labs, and everyone is a little in disbelief, understandably. And eventually, regular Barry tells regular Ollie, hey, look, just go to Iris, talk to her, convince her, and giving her how he would talk to Iris. So Ollie goes over to Iris and says, look, it's possible what we're saying is true, that for some reason we've switched bodies and all the scans turned up negative, but it still could be true. And so Iris drugs him. And then Ralph comes in and decks regular Barry. Friends like these, am I right? So they're put in the Star Labs metahuman prison, which is the super collider thing that gave Barry his powers. It's been a while since I saw season 1, so forgive my inappropriate terminology. And finally, after all these years of so many metahumans being trapped in that prison, we get an explanation. The toilets are retractable. I can't tell you how long that's been weighing on my mind. So, Barry and Ollie give each other pointers on how to free themselves from their cuffs, and then the prison. And when they look for that little necklace bauble thing that Cisco made to vibe between dimensions without using his powers, they get stopped by Iris, and she gets convinced because Barry, who she thinks is Ollie, explains his backstory after his mother's murder so convincingly, she's like, here you go. Which, okay, fine. Then we jump to Earth 38 and the opening theme song to Smallville, but instead of Tom Welling, we have Tyler Hoechlin. And forgive me if I don't know the actress's name, but we also get introduced to Lois Lane. And she has a very Margot Kidder quality to her, mostly visually, like in the face. And so far she has some pretty good chemistry with Hoechlin. They're on the Kent farm with Kara, and Kara's still bummed because she had to quit the DEO because she wouldn't tell them who she is. And that's when they get surprised by Barry and Ollie. And sure enough, she recognizes them as Barry and Ollie on this other Earth. And they let her know that something ain't right on their Earth, where Killer Frost and Elongated Man have a fun little meeting with Amazo. It goes about as well as you could expect. After they formally named Amazo back at Star Labs, because when the villain runs away, they go back to Star, they find out that Iris let their heroic buddies out because she was so convinced. And Cisco's like, I believe it. Not only because it's a weird world out there and currently there's a power copying robot and skies are turning red. He earlier vibed in the lab a guy with ridges on his head, and he noted mutton chops. He recognizes the power of the mutton chops. In response to all this, Ralph does make an admittedly funny line, "It's not even Tuesday yet," where The Flash usually airs. Meanwhile, Barry and Ollie are doing some practice on the Kent farm, and Barry's having a good old time basically getting back at Ollie for something in a couple seasons ago in one of their shows, which ends up with a couple arrows in Ollie's back. And Barry's kind of a sociopath. And they come to the conclusion that if they're going to better use each other's abilities, they have to act the part. And then Cisco arrives to say they've got a killer robot on the loose, and they basically believe their story that they are not who they say they are each other, and Supergirl's going to tag along, and looks at Clark, says, "Who are you?" He says, "A friend." I'm like, yes! Nice callback to the Christopher Reeves movies. Tyler Hoechlin's just such a good Superman. Such a good Clark, too. Can he be the new movie Superman, please? I mean, I give The Flash a lot of flack because of a lot of redundant things they do. And they even pointed out here, like, Ollie says that Barry can't go 9 hours without some motivational speech, which is a trope in The Flash. But, man, I just like Tyler Hoechlin so much. So then comes the big fight with Amazo, and they're all attacking him so quickly he can't get a bead on all their powers. And it's done pretty well. And Superman just pile drives him right into the ground. And then the Earth starts shaking just when they think they've beaten him. And Amazo pops back up. And then they pause to give him enough time to copy all their powers. That's the Flash writers for you. They end up doing the opposite of what they were doing before when it was effective. Anyway, they figure out, well, Sherlock Wells says, hey, it's a computer. Perhaps you just feed it a virus. And of course, Cisco and Caitlin just whipped up a virus to attack the Amazo specifically. But because now he's invulnerable, they can't really use it. They do find a fairly clever way of getting it installed. The Amazo robot goes kablooey. The day is saved. All thanks to Barry learning the power of grim and gritty, and Ollie learning the power of joy. The Amazo pieces are boxed up. Iris and Barry have a moment, because of course they do. And Green Arrow thinks that they need to see what Vibe saw earlier. So he, hands on the shoulders, and he vibes the monitor, giving the book to the professor. But there's a little hitch. The monitor sees Cisco seeing them. Yeah. He tells them that it's futile, they better give up, nothing they can do, yada, yada, yada. And Cisco, because his powers have been wonky ever since he was attacked by Cicada, he ends the vibe, and his nose starts bleeding, he walks out, and Ollie super speed sketches a moment from that scene. Probably inks by Jim Lee, because that seems like something they would do as a fun little Easter egg to people who still think that Jim Lee is a really, really big deal. And they might not recognize the monitor, but they know where he is because of a Wayne Enterprises building in the background. And then we close on the Gotham skyline, and atop one building is Batwoman. So this started off pretty well, I have to say. It was fun, even though Barry did seem a little too enthused about causing injury to his buddy. I mean, sure, super metabolism, maybe heals up fine, but still. And like I said before, Tyler Hoechlin is great as Superman. And so far, I'm liking their Lois Lane pick. I'm liking this. I don't know if that could, that could change. Hopefully it doesn't. But, yeah, good start so far, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next part. Good night.